Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I just had a cough as I said hello, so that's awkward. But welcome to the Saturday Morning D&D show, a very hostful episode as we have both of us back in the studio hanging out. It's awesome, our studio, like we have that.
Although we love Lex. Thanks,
no,
Lex,
it was great. Lex
hanging out.
He jumped in last minute, and I don't know if you watched the show, Lucian, but he definitely streamed from a Burger King.
I was gonna say he was not at his normal spot
because he was trying to sell his house. And so they had an open house. And so he's like, no, it's cool. I'll go to this cute diner. And it was like the diner was super packed. So then he just went to a Burger King and sat in the corner.
Nice.
And I was like, but it worked. Like his audio was pretty fun. And it was cool after we finished that episode, which we were talking a lot about OSR and designing D&Ds and stuff. I we were talking more about Jack Vance and Fancy Magic and stuff. And then Lex read a quote kind of quickly while we were like talking, and I was still recording, and I was like, that's a really good quote. So then I got him to say it again, only like in a better microphone, and we put together that video that I put on the channel of just like what is a spell, and I thought that was really fun. And he was like, that's really cool, we should do more of these. I was like, we should, because they're fun, and I like editing cool stuff like that. Welcome to the Saturday Morning D&D show. We're gonna talk about a whole bunch of Dungeons and Dragons stuff. Basically, I don't know, have we missed things? What's going on in the world of D&D?
I didn't think news-wise, we're all kind of waiting in bated breath to hear what the remaining announcements might be, when they're going to do it.
I'm
thinking
they're
holding,
right?
Yeah. So I think they're holding their cards until the live show stuff happens and some of the online stuff catches up. So I'm excited. But the big thing I'm excited for is the cards.
The Magic the Gathering
card set that's coming out is generating a lot of buzz.
And I am not a connoisseur of the Magic the Gathering. I had a lot of friends in college that liked it, and I wanted to play, but because I like card games. I played a lot of Hearthstone. I played later on. I played Pokemon and things like that. But for me to get into it, it felt very, very expensive. With this Magic the Gathering set coming out, I'm looking at all these cards and I'm like, this is really cool. And I picked up a introductory booster thing, but which will be delivered to the house on the 23rd.
Awesome.
But I was looking at, I think all the cards are released online now. So if we hop into Magic the Gathering Arena, we can play with the new cards.
Oh, it's on Arena now.
Yeah.
Oh, so God. There's where the rest of my weekend's going.
They released the cards in Arena before the physical cards. So the physical cards are going to be Friday, July 23rd, but they're out in Arena now from my understanding.
Okay.
And boy, they're fun. They're really cool. Oh, and so what I was going to say is I started learning about this new format called Commander. And basically a bunch of fans of Magic the Gathering built I think it's a non-profit organization of just nerds that started the Commander format because they wanted a new way to play. And
not
Wizards of the Coast,
against each other, but with each other.
Well, it's actually Commander is 4 people. And so it's
that's right. It was a multiplayer one.
Yeah. So it's 4 people and it's a fight to the death. But you have a specific card that you choose as your commander, and they're usually legendary creatures. So I would choose in the Magic or in the Forgotten Realms set, you would choose Drist would be one, Drist, or the Tarask is another legendary creature.
I think I saw Mordekainen was in there too.
Mordekainen, yeah. So legendary creatures / planewalkers, you can kind of use both. But I watched a really interesting video, and I don't have it available, but I'll put a link to it down below about Commander format, because I guess these collection of nerds made this nonprofit organization. I say nonprofit, but I don't know, but they're creating the rules for this, not Wizards of the Coast.
Right.
And everybody loves this new format of Commander. And so Wizards of the Coast is like, well, hey, we want Commander to be like this. And they're straight up like, no, that's dumb. And so they're defining the rules of this, even though Wizards and Magic the Gathering, they're trying to shift it into a profitable way. So they want you to say that you can use a legendary monster or a planeswalker in Commander. And these people are like, no, you can't do that. And so, but anyway, it's you can only have 100 cards, and every card has to be different. You can't have duplicates.
Oh, nice.
So it's kind of a more fun introductory way to do it. And so you can, and then Wizards are sponsoring this because it's popular. Not sponsoring, but they're leaning towards it. So you can now buy like straight up commander decks. And I think there's 4 on Amazon right now that are available. And so I don't know if Commander is in Magic the Gathering Arena yet, but it looked really fun. That. And it looked, my initial problem with Magic the Gathering was this is too expensive to get into. But now I was like, oh, you could like buy that deck and then maybe a couple boosters and like switch it around if you wanted to. And so it could be fun. Who knows?
Yeah. So is that one though, I'm trying to remember because there are some different formats people have come up with. Is that 2-on-2 or is that a 4-way brawl?
It's a 4-way brawl.
Between the 4.
Yeah.
Oh.
So from what I was reading, there's some politics
involved.
Alliances? Well, there's the fake alliances, right?
Right.
So because, if you start wailing on somebody too early, then somebody sees, oh, you're open because you've tapped all your monsters. I'm going to attack you. So there's like politics and there's like, if you don't attack me, I'll do this. But yeah, so kind of an interesting way to play because you could be like all 3 of us gang up on one person.
Right.
But you know that there's that like treachery guy in there who's going to be like, well, I'm going to go over here and attack you this way. So
I feel like another format that I was interested in, I'll have to look it up again, was one where you could be you were fighting with each other instead of against each other. And one of the things I always said about the old Magic the Gathering is there was a little bit of, I think it's better now, but somebody can let me know, is there was a toxic kind of community going on in the 90s and early 2000s of, because you're competitive, and when you get into something that's competitive, that's just how it works. That's just how the whole thing goes down. And I like the idea that they would coming up with some formats that you could play together and not necessarily compete against each other or get mad at each other because you were losing to your buddy 10 times in a row or something.
Yeah. I
played some guys that were really good and they were just like, I can't ever beat you.
Yeah. And Commander, apparently it really does last about 45 minutes to an hour, so it's not like a huge time commitment. I think what you're thinking of, I was reading a lot of this the other day, but like Two-Headed Giant is another form where there's 2 of us against 2 of them. And so you could totally play like you're buffing your friend or, things like that. And I thought that was kind of cool. Yeah.
That seems cool too. It's fun that it's able to be flexible enough because they're cards that are printed with rules on them.
Yeah.
So you would think they could only be done one way, but really people have found creative ways to use those same cards but in different formats to do different things. Yeah. So I really like that. And I like when I play in tournaments and stuff, I like unsealed decks. So you opened it there and you played right from the deck, so it wasn't bringing those big created decks because those people are too good at it. They never create those really good decks, and but if you could play an unsealed, you just get some lucky cards and you have a good thing and you can run with it, and it's pretty fun. The other one I really like was Keyforge, which was built by Garriott himself also, and it was Magic's successor in my mind of fixing some of the things that I didn't like about Magic. But I like the world of Magic so much, and I love the 5-color concept, and I love the cards and the art and the lore. I feel like they could even do a deeper dive into the lore. The videos they put out in the recent years have been awesome to announce each card pack, and the idea that they bring out maybe at least 2, 3, or 4 sets a year. So they just keep churning out the content for those of us that just love absorbing it. So I love it, but you are absolutely right. If you get into it, it's a money hog, or it can be a money hog. I mean, I remember spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars as a kid, early teens, young adult, that I could have been spending on, rent or something else. So I'm gonna go buy a big old box of cards.
Yeah. So I'm trying to remember the cards that I should just look on Amazon. But to give you price wise here, I bought or I pre-ordered a Magic the Gathering.
While you're looking, I had a lot of Arabian Nights. That's when I was big into it.
Arabian Nights? That was a set? Or oh, okay. So I pre-ordered the Magic the Gathering Adventures in the Forgotten Realms bundle. It comes with 10 draft boosters, which is 150 magic cards, and accessories. So those 150 cards, you get a cool D20 that's themed for the whole magic set, and a box, and a custom card that is a treasure chest. And you also get the 3 dungeons, because this is a new mechanic with this Magic the Gathering set.
That's what I'm excited to see.
A lot of the cards have like delve into the dungeon, and so they come with these oversized dungeon cards that you then place down next to you, and you can then move your little token through the dungeon, and you get benefits as you're going through the dungeon. And so those are Lost Mine of Phandelver, Dungeon of the Mad Mage, and Tomb of Annihilation. Super fun. Super fun. So that is $46. Which is like, okay, like that's fine. That's 150 cards. But those boosters are like generic draft boosters, so they could have really good cards. They could not. They're kind of like they're just whatever. If you really want the fancy cards, I found out that there's a collector pack, and so now a regular draft booster is like $5, but these collector ones are guaranteed to have really awesome cards, so they're more expensive. And those are $20 a booster, so you're getting like 12 cards, I think, in a booster for $20. And so you start multiplying that, and if you go on
$2 a card,
if you're googling like I want the collector's versions of these cards, well then all of a sudden 12 boosters is around $250.
Ooh,
and that's where you're like, I got 180 cards for $250.
Yeah.
That's
and you still might
expensive.
not get the one you want, so then you might keep going for it. Yeah. I tried to complete one of those sets before, and I had it in the card holder, and I was trying to get one whole set by buying just booster after booster after booster.
That's where they get you.
That's how they get you, because I'd go in and I'd spend $5. I'd be like, oh, I got $10. I'll go buy 2 boosters. Oh, I got $10. I'll go buy 2 boosters. You know, it just added up. By the end of it, you've spent $500. I plan to go into my brick and mortar. I want to support my game store, and on that day pick it up so that I can have a nice big box for us for our show after the 23rd. So if it's on the 23rd, what's our show that's right after that?
It's a Friday. Yeah.
So I'll pick it up on Friday, and then 24th will be fun.
Yeah.
Maybe an exercise show.
And I feel like I'm bragging now, but I'm not trying to. So this company called TCG Player, you can go to tcgplayer.com. They haven't sponsored anything, but they wanted to partner with Dungeons & Dragons YouTubers for this set. So they contacted me, and they said, well, where's your local game store? And I was like, oh, it's like this one over there. And they're like, okay, well, we'll call them and pre-order you that really expensive collector's box of 12 boosters or whatever, the $250 one, and then you just go pick it up the day of release. And I was like, oh, okay. So I'm going to go down. I think I'm going to buy some regular draft boosters and things like that, and maybe a commander deck if they have them, and then I'm going to get that. So at some point afterwards, I'm going to do an unboxing, and we'll do a live stream or something. It'll be fun. But I'm going to open all these cards. You guys can see them. I think it'll be really cool. So I want to say thank you to them, because that was really cool of them to do that.
Yeah, I'm excited. I haven't been this excited about a card set. I've liked Ravnica. I like some of the other ones that have come out. They've been fun. They've been fantastic. But even Strixhaven was really cool.
I hear, yeah.
This one is
I just know the lore, so I thought that was really cool. I'm like, I just, it's like I just recognize the cards, and I thought that was fun. There's a Hand of Vecna and an Eye of Vecna, and if you play those with a Book of Vile Darkness, you summon Vecna, and I was like, that's so cool.
Or think of this too, because this is something we've talked about on the show before, where we like the magic system of Dungeons and Dragons, but wouldn't it have been cool if you could somehow bring in the 5-color system in Magic the Gathering, which I think is a really fun system too. Well, they must have thought of that, because they must have black cards and blue cards and red cards and green cards, and so we're going to see kind of a color combination of Forgotten Realms, where you might say, this is my white-green deck, and it's all white-green stuff related to Forgotten Realms in a colored Magic format, almost a little bit away from Vancian into a different style of Magic. Yeah, so cool.
I really wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind if maybe the next version of D&D, or just like an alternate rule system, was like a complete rebuild of how Magic works.
Me too.
Because I like it. just fine, and I like the different schools that we have and things like that. But you're right, like it would be really cool to say and especially with this Strixhaven coming out, like it would be the Strixhaven campaign setting for D&D. It would be really cool to say like I'm gonna be a black red wizard, and then you have all these cool things, and you can combine different effects. There's a fun game called Card Duels Battle at Mount Skullsfire, I think it's what it's called. It's a really fun card game where you're a wizard and you have to build spells by playing cards in a row.
You're a wizard,
and
Gary.
I've always wanted that type of experience in D&D. So if I go to cast a spell, I like shuffle through my deck and I'm like, okay, and then you build a spell and you hope it works. And that's kind of the like that keeps the randomness, but it's also kind of it's just fun. So
yeah, and like a real way to duel. There's not a real wizard duel rule set for Dungeons and Dragons. It's weird because Counterspell kind of screws it up, and you can only cast one spell per turn, and then if you do, you can't try to cast something other than a cantrip. You know, there's like all these rules that stop you from unleashing wizard on wizard battles, right? But we want every now and then wizard on wizard battles.
You know, I found this was a while ago, but I think it was AD&D. I found I think this was a fan system, but it was a way to do spell duels like you're thinking, like wizard on wizard fights. And I was a little disappointed because you still have to have a referee, so you have to have a DM. And then what they were doing is you have each player who plays their wizard, and then you bring out a chessboard, and then as they're casting spells, you're basically like pushing different spell effects across the board. So it was like a mini game, but it didn't feel like I'm throwing a fireball at you and you're, batting it out of the way or something as you launch something else at me.
Or your fireball hits my fireball, and we're in this constant static battle of our magics clashing together in the center and
that's what you want,
the land around us.
And this was supposed to represent that through basically I'm like playing chess to outwit the person and I was like, I just don't like, cool idea, but you didn't actually do it. So
mark that down, Jordan. That might be something we have to bring to the market. Maybe it's not out there, and we could bring a wizard duel.
Yeah.
To the market.
Well,
5e wizard duels.
What is it? Judge Crawl Classics does it really well too. Yeah. And I shouldn't say really well, but they have the randomness amped up. And I like the fact that if you cast Fireball, I can cast Fireball to counter it. But then there's a chance that our two fireballs merge, and then we both get hurt, and kind of things like that.
Yeah,
it's a fun system. I have yet to actually try it out, and the Dungeon Crawl Classics community kind of like, it's really complicated and it's not fun, so we don't do it very often. And so, but I don't know. Anyway, I'm excited. Cool. We're gonna have a bunch of cards to open up, and we gotta play some Magic. I gotta get Indoor Adventurer over here as well.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I'm working with a Magic the Gathering lore YouTuber, and we're going to do a live stream here, and we're going to talk about the upcoming card set, and we're going to talk about, whatever we want to talk about, I guess. But he's a really cool guy.
Cool.
His name, I forgot his, Simon, but I forget his other name.
You've been talking, I always do that too. I'm talking through somebody, and I'm using their real names.
I forget his anyway, but we've been chatting back and forth, and he's really excited to be on the show, and on my main channel and stuff, but we're going to talk about that, so. So keep an eye out there, subscribe, tell your friends.
Let the lores combine.
Yeah. So I guess that's the big thing, I guess, is this Magic the Gathering, which is they're timing everything really well, because this is coming out, and you're going to have D&D Live next weekend, and then we're going to have the physical card release the week after that. So I wonder what's going to happen with all this. So.
And it seems like everything I've seen has been super positive. I have not seen a big negative wave hit Twitter or anything, which usually happens if there's something there's certain part of the community finds they don't like about a certain release or a certain announcement that's been made. Because obviously Wizards of the Coast has stumbled here or there, throughout the last few years on one thing or another. But this one seems to be received really well. I've not seen anything out there like, oh, we don't like this. And I haven't seen a backlash from the Magic community. I haven't seen a backlash from because remember back when the first book that came out there were kind of that group, and I don't know that they were big, but they were a group of, we don't want our magic in your Dungeons and Dragons, or we don't want your Dungeons and Dragons in our Magic the Gathering. They were two separate, and they were against Hasbro forcing them together for money. That was the theme going on behind it. But I've not heard as much of that anymore, and I think they're excited for this.
Yeah, and I don't know, maybe it's because we have a better, pulse on the D&D community. That there was a lot of like, oh, like you're doing a Magic the Gathering setting? Like, I don't know. I don't like Magic. I don't play it, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But this reverse, I guess Magic the Gathering fans, I'm not as in touch with them. Maybe some of them are upset. But at the same time, I think they're just excited that they have really cool new cards. But maybe they're upset that there's like, they could care less about the lore, but like maybe they're upset more that there's like a weird dungeon mechanic that they don't like or something. But I haven't heard that. So and I've been wanting to make a whole video on this, and I just keep talking about it. So maybe I won't. And we'll talk about it right now. But I've been watching Sly Flourish's talk show, and he does it Sunday mornings, really early. But he's been editing it and putting it on his YouTube. So I encourage you to go subscribe to Sly Flourish, and it's just a casual chat that he talks about, like, here are the things that are going on in D&D. And sometimes he talks to the audience, but mostly it's just his opinions. And he had a really good thing about campaign settings, and specifically the Magic the Gathering campaign settings, where he said, I've done this. And this is his words. He's like, I've done this where I've walked up to my friends and I'm like, hey, I've got this brand new campaign setting. It's all ancient Greek themed. The gods walk among us. You can get these really awesome god power weapons. You have like a system of like worship that reflects everything. Like, do you want to go on a voyage and like, Sinbad, or not Sinbad, but I'm thinking of Jason and the Argonauts. Like, Jason, do you want to do that? Like, that would be so cool. And his friends are like, yeah, that's awesome. And he's like, yeah, it's this Magic the Gathering Theros setting. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh. And it's like, but it literally is that, Yeah. And so he said, don't treat the campaign settings like, oh, it's Magic the Gathering. Because it really has nothing to do with that, other than they're able to repurpose their art in this book, which is why they're making this, I think, another thing. Because they don't have to get new art. They just have to hire a bunch of writers. And then we already have all this Magic the Gathering art. So, but yeah, you're right. Like, I feel the same way. Like, I go there and I'm like, or we talk about this and I'm like, oh yeah, like I would love to play a Greek setting. I want to do this. And then I'm like, oh, but like, I don't know, Magic the Gathering. Like, I don't know anything about Theros.
Yeah. So, like if I pitched the one that got me was like, you're on a planet that is completely covered by one city, one giant city. And there are 10 factions vying for different pieces. And you can be a part of them, or you can work for all of them, or you can work for different groups, or be your own group. And there's these guilds that kind of control everything. And there's guild politics.
And if that was the pitch
we're in Ravnica.
If that was the pitch of a custom campaign setting, and I didn't know that it was a Magic the Gathering, I'm like, oh, awesome. But the minute they're like, well, it's Ravnica. Oh, well, I'm not that interested in Magic, so and so it's weird. I don't have a good answer for it, other than I think we should get out of that mindset and just say, like, all DMs read and steal and make things their own, and like, absolutely. When I've been a huge push, if you're playing in the Forgotten Realms, make it your own thing. Obviously, don't be like, well, in canon we're supposed to do this, and what about the spell plague? Like, forget all of that. Just play the game however you want to play it. It's your setting now. It's your Forgotten Realms. And I think the same thing should be with Theros and stuff. It's like, it's your setting,
What's fun for you and your players? What thing is going to meet that nexus of you like it and they like it, and everybody walks away with fun stories and smiles and telling other people about it who don't even play Dungeons. They go home and they tell their spouses or their brothers or sisters or moms and dads about the game they just played, and they get the eye roll because, oh, you're Dungeons and Dragons. But you're just so excited you'll tell anybody about, do you know what just happened last night in my game?
Well, and we've been talking about this. I want to do a Drow game for a while, and I was rereading some of the Ravnica stuff recently, and I'm like, that's what I need to use. Like, you have all these different things vying for power. Like, you have huge all of the Drow houses. They're all backstabbing each other, but like they can't really. And so that whole system really could be applied to the game that I want to run. And so
yeah. And I could imagine the Drow being almost mana colored aligned, even though we don't use those terms in Dungeons and Dragons. But you could have the, by forming, green and I think it was, I was trying to think, it was green and white, red and blue, and black and something. There was a way that they all formed the 10 Ravnica guilds, but you could turn that into the 10 great houses of the Drow.
Yeah.
And they're all fighting and stabbing each other, and they all have the same flavor of a red blue or a blue black, or you still could do that. You could still use that creativity to show how is this not just 10 houses that are the same, but 10 very different houses, guilds, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
And how their garb would match it. So you would have this cool way to explain what people look like, and you'd be like, oh, you see a black coat with dark blue lining and trim, and you'd be like, you'd automatically know, oh, that's house whatever. You know who that is.
Yeah.
That's just super cool.
And the Red Wizards from Forgotten Realms are a perfect example where they're very specifically, they shave their heads, they have tattoos, they wear red robes, and you get in big trouble if you try to look like them and you are not a Red Wizard.
Yeah.
And I think that would be like the same thing. Like, how dare you? Like, that I'm from this house. Like, that would be cool.
We were in Tomb of Annihilation. We were out in the jungle, and our dungeon master was describing, well, you see this kind of like wizardly robed guy, and the robes are kind of a bright red, and our whole group immediately went, Wizard of Thay, get him, and just like unloaded on the guy, because we knew you dress like Wizard of Thay, you're evil, we're coming at you. So that was a cool moment. That's just fun. So yeah, that'd be cool. I think that'd be a good mini campaign for you to do. That's like a, maybe a 10 episode, maybe an 8 episode Drow mini campaign.
Well, and I bought that 4th edition book that's like all about the Drow houses and repurposing it. So eventually. But, I have so many games to play. Like, I just bought a bunch of zines, and these were on the camera during the pre-show there. So some people were, Zris there was asking about it. But I got some OSR zines called Wormskin. And these have different races and mechanics and stuff for BX D&D or Old School Essentials. And then The Weird That Befell Dridgebolton is an adventure for OSC, for Old School Essentials, by the same guy that made this Wormskin zine. And they're really fun, and I think it's good for Dungeon Masters to read a bunch of different stuff. And I enjoy reading this kind of stuff, so that's what I've been reading lately. But yeah, and then I don't know if I told you this, Lucian. Sorry, I do. This is, I do have something stuck on my finger. This is a camera piece that is on my desk that I've been playing with. So I will put it away. I apologize. So I didn't tell you this, Lucian, but I bought a very large sheet of plexiglass, and I've now covered my entire table in plexiglass so I can use wet erase anywhere, which I really like. And then today or tomorrow, Chris, sorry. Today and tomorrow, I'm getting some the 1-inch paper, grid paper,
right?
And I'm going to permanently just put it on the bottom. And so now I'm going to have this like, the whole table's going to be a map, and I'm really excited. Yeah. So
big grid, nice. Well, guess what I got in the mail?
What'd you get in the mail, sir?
I got a Kickstarter that came in, the Rune Master classic role-playing game, fantasy role-playing game by Riot Minds.
Familiar? How do I know that?
It's a European, was pretty popular, and they brought it back out. And so it's got some interesting mechanics to it. It's got really good kind of like there's a troll artwork, old school.
I love art. Like that's like Vaesen from Free League.
Yep. So I got that, and so I got the book, and then cool enough, this was a Kickstarter. They because we reached some goals, they gave us a little packet of an adventure, the Isle of Wraiths, which just seems really cool, by Riot Minds. They gave me another adventure called Whispers from the Old Mark. Pretty cool, little pamphlet size.
Awesome.
2 full hex maps to use because it's got a hex crawl mechanic in the system.
I love it.
These are the character sheets, a pad.
Oh wow.
Of character sheets. Pretty simple, pretty basic. your 6 stats, very similar to D&D. There's a few things that are different to it, but
so what's the overall system like?
It is.
I mean, I guess you haven't had time to read it, but like, I don't know if you know.
It's a D20, but it's also, there's quite a bit of percent I saw in here too, I believe.
Okay.
And then there's a lot of rollable tables, like when you critical hits and critical failures is percentiles. So critical failure is 98 to 100 on the percentile dice.
Okay.
And the perfect roll is 0-1 to 0-3. But they also do a lot of hit location. So not only when you swing and try to hit somebody, but you're going to say, oh, you hit the arm, or you hit their leg, or you hit their body, and then that piece of armor might take something off of it, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's a D10
game.
It's all
D10.
That.
Yeah. Savage World does that, where you have to see where you hit.
You'll like this artwork too, I think.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Yeah, really nice, cool. Really good. And they've got, like, there's 2 modes. Like when you're traveling, they call it the hex crawl mode, I believe. And then there's the adventuring part. So there's kind of 2 phases going on. And they've got rules for what's happening when you're going through the hex crawl part. And then you have then it's a regular role play game when you're like, okay, we're going to dive deeper into this, and this scene's all about you guys doing these things or being in this place.
Cool.
So that's pretty cool. And then they gave also, that came with it, was they gave you know how you get those little card stands, so you can put the little plastic piece at the bottom so it can just sit on your board. Mm-hmm. And then they gave you a bunch of these laminated cool creatures, a whole pack of them, a Dungeon Master's screen. Look at some of this stuff. Rune Masters.
Very cool.
Then there's some more artwork. And here's another nice art piece. And then it's the actual.
Yeah.
So, very cool. Oh, and there's a little bit of a card mechanic going on of some sort. Because I noticed in here I think you use cards to do initiative. So I think everybody draws a card, and that's what initiative you get. So when you flip it over. And then there also seems to be things like, to when to dodge or parry, superior reflexes. So there's like a whole little card set thing in here that somehow, and you're right, I have not read through all of it, so I don't know all of the system yet. But man, it came through, and I'm like, oh, this one had been kickstarted maybe a year and a half ago. It seems like this was one of those ones that I'd totally forgotten about, and it just showed up. I had forgotten I'd even kickstarted it. So, but going
isn't that how it is
read
sometimes?
It, and it's really cool, and they did a great job. And
what's the company?
Riot Minds.
Okay.
Which I got confused with, because when I saw Riot Minds on the box, I thought, why is League of Legends sending me something cool? Because I always think of Riot from League of Legends. And I'm trying to see if they put where they're actually located at. I feel like these are European, like a England or, God, I don't remember. I don't know if they're like Modifius, because Modifius is headquarters over, I think, in England also. But very cool, nice artwork. I think that's what drew me to it, so it was awesome. So I'm super happy that came in. Did you get any Kickstarters? Did you do any new ones? I feel like you did a new one I saw.
What did I do that was new?
Or something. Well, you did Dying Earth.
Oh,
right?
yeah, that's
Did you finally pledged it? Yeah.
Yeah. I placed that with within seconds of it going. I was so excited. I think I was actually at Nathan's house playing D&D on my phone, doing the pledge as it became live.
Okay, cool.
Actually, news about that though is Goodman Games is running Dying Earth. It's not a play test. It's just kind of like a preview, I guess, or something. Mm-hmm. But I signed up for it, and they said cool. And so tonight at 4 p.m. my time, I'm gonna play in Dying Earth, and we're gonna do like a cool little Zoom call with other random players, and they'll email me character sheets and stuff. They have pre-generated characters, but. So that's cool, and I'll be able to talk about that next week. I thought that would be a lot of fun to run around and do that. So
yeah, very cool.
Right. But no, as far as Kickstarters, WebDM, I did theirs.
We did WebDMs. Yep.
Dying Earth. I just got my revised version of Into the Weird and Wild, which is a D6 system of exploring their campaign setting, which is the weird and the wild. And it's a really cool, but I kind of wanted a physical book of it. And then I was looking into it, and they did a revised reprint Kickstarter. So it's the same book, but they just fixed it up, and I pledged enough money to get the really nice, like, stitch bound book of it, and I was like, this will be cool. So that's really awesome.
Right. Yeah, I'm thinking the one I'm still waiting on is Black Storm, which is one I was doing. I did do, like you said, WebDM. We did WebDM, Venture Maidens. I did get mine from Grant. He did his. Mm-hmm. That is in Tolus did come in, so that we talk about Tolus.
And I did a role-playing game. I
feel like I've got a few out there.
I did a role-playing game called Mazes that did fund. And that one's really interesting because I'm just really curious about it. There's been a couple live streams from the creators, and I watched how they play. But you roll a die based on your class. So instead of it's not a D20 system, but like if you're a fighter, you're going to roll a D10. If you're a wizard, you roll a D4. And I think the die explodes. So like a wizard has a higher chance of exploding, but also of just flat out failing things. Whereas a fighter is more, you'll be able to do it. It looked really, really interesting. So I'm curious about, and my dogs are barking because someone rang the doorbell.
Finally, it wasn't just my dogs barking through the whole show.
So I'm curious about that, but that funded, and it should come out. Oh, they're saying estimated delivery February 2022. So yeah.
Yeah, I think my next one coming either Grimmer Space or Black Storm Realms. One, you remember Jetpack 7?
Yep.
You ever get any of their stuff?
I do. I have their Legendary Dragons book. It's really good.
They have one that's Black Storm Realms coming out. That's their 5e setting, and I kickstarted that one. So that one's getting pretty close. The Grimmer Space one was the one by Sean Austin from The Hobbit and all the other. I always think of him as Stranger Things. Yeah, my favorite in Stranger Things. Goonies. So that was he was part of building that one, so I had kickstarted that one. Those have been out for a long time when they got kickstarted, so they're just now getting to the delivery point. So that's pretty
and another, I'm a big fan of Sly Flourish, but like another thing he was saying that I am now agreeing with more and more is we need to treat Wizards of the Coast as an equal to things that are being produced by third-party supplements people. Because Jetpack 7 makes a really cool Legendary Dragons book, and you're just like, this is amazing. And you flip through it, and then if you get like an official WotC book, and you're like, I don't know, it's like, it's okay, it could be better, but I'll still buy it, I guess, because I don't know, it's official content, right? But like, no, treat it exactly the same. If this third-party book is better than an official book, you buy the third-party book. And I thought that was really cool, because some of these Kickstarters and some of these third-party content creators, they're knocking it out of the park with subclasses and all this other stuff. And WebDM and their Weird Wastelands is a perfect example of a book that Wizards of the Coast won't really touch, but there is a super niche for people who want to play in that type of world, and they're doing a really good job. That's with 2C Gaming, and they did the Venture Maidens, and they do a lot of Kickstarters, and
they just put an update out too. They just got their final unlock goal July 9th. So yesterday they hit their final goal, which was 20% increase to budget for art and paying their artist compensation. So they got that. They just sent it out to all the email people. And I think their campaign ends this Sunday. So if you still want to jump in for, the Weird Wastelands by WebDM and really support, web community content creators getting involved in making creations, just like Venture Maidens, just like Grant, just like, a lot of the other books that have come out. 2C Game is knocking out of the park. We should really support them for supporting.
When are we making our book, Lucian?
Yeah, I saw some people asking.
All these people are doing these books, and I'm just like, why haven't I started a Kickstarter? I'm back on, or I'm slow, I guess, apparently, because the Dungeon Coach, we had him on as a guest on this show. He's got a Kickstarter now too.
Yeah, AJ was doing his Kickstarter.
AJ's just finished. It's really cool. Yeah, like I was
Has Ned done one yet? Maybe we should team up with Ned, because get the guys that haven't done it yet together, and then be like, okay, none of us have done it, so let's all just come together and do it.
But I guess I don't want to do a Kickstarter for the sake of doing a Kickstarter.
No, but I mean,
I have one. We've been talking about this where we do want to write and publish something. It would be really cool. So.
My mind is still abuzz with the Cliff. I'm telling you, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. And even if it's a part, it'd be so cool. So we're going to do it eventually. It's not impossible. We're going to do it eventually. We just got to get our jobs to calm down. Everything's going well. We have good life balance, and then we can tackle that next piece.
I think what we legitimately, though, we probably each need to take a month off of work. And then
probably
your new job for that month is to just write and get things done and play tested and stuff.
I can save up enough vacation. I can do this.
We'll see. I guess, I want to talk about all the games we're playing too, because I'm curious about your leveling. But before that, Kate Welch is back in D&D news, and this surprised me because she kind of left Wizards on a weird term. I don't know if it was bad, but it was just sudden, and she's gone. But she's going to be one of the host / dungeon master for D&D Live, and she's got Jack Black, Reggie Watts, Lauren Lapkus, Kevin Smith, Jason Mewes, and Tiffany Haddish. And I don't know Tiffany very well, but those other 5 are going to derail that campaign faster than anybody I've ever seen.
Silent Bob.
I am
oh my God,
very curious as to where that goes, because I know, like, Jason Mewes and Reggie Watts it's gonna be funny. So, but that's the one I'm really curious about. And then Abria is doing another game, which looks really fun. And I'm a big fan of Amy Vorpal, and she's running yet another game. So that'll be cool. But yeah, they got lots of cool guest dungeon masters upcoming. So I think it'll be
very cool. Now I will say I'm not throwing a bunch of shade towards Wizards of the Coast. I do like celebrity Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh yeah.
I do wish that the last few years feels like they're leaning more towards actor celebrity and not as much towards community people who are doing this and putting the time in and aren't famous. Don't live in LA.
Yeah.
Don't do that whole thing. I love all those people you mentioned. I still want to watch them. I'm still going to watch those games and see all the fun shenanigans that happen. But I wish they were still leaning into their community like they did about 3 years ago or 4 years ago. They leaned more into the community and not as much into the actor LA space.
Yeah.
You know what
I
mean?
No, they had that first one, Joe Manganiello, and he was their big celebrity in Seattle, and they did that. And that's where they announced Tomb of Annihilation and Xanathars. And like Colville was there and a bunch of like streamers, and this is before Critical Role was like the biggest it's ever been, so they were there. And then every year after that it's been like I mean, thanks for making content, but and then the big kick was this last one where it was COVID and we were all stuck at home, and they still went with celebrities who are great, but when you have really bad cameras and they don't have like, you know, good streaming equipment and stuff like that, it just didn't work out as well. And I'm like, or you could work with us, but I think that's
or just a nice balance, not one or the other, but a balance.
Yeah. Well, and I've decided not to get my hopes up. And I don't honestly, I don't care anymore, because if they don't want to work with us, like I don't really want to work with you then either. Like I don't need you, because there's this great community out there that does want to support us, and they do want really cool Kickstarters, and they do want third-party content. And I think you just need to focus on the people that do enjoy the things that you make, as opposed to the executive that's trying to book deals and not really understanding, like, well, who do I go to, you know? So, I don't know. But speaking of that, I was surprised that they had a DM roundtable recently. This was like a day ago on Wizards YouTube, and they had Griffin McElroy from his podcast and Satine Phoenix and Sherlock Holmes, and those are 3 streamer podcast people that I was like, well, there you go. Like, they're celebrities, but they're not celebrities. You're not, and so I was surprised that they're
community celebrities for us. They're D&D community celebrities.
And it was interesting to get back to that, but those are still like the top of the top for you know, live plays and what have you. But anyway,
And I thought it was interesting. You put it in the notes there. I thought it was interesting they were playing the cartoon.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of speculation started to jump around that. Like, oh, is this something? Does this mean something?
So the 1980s D&D cartoon, twitch.tv/DnD, they started streaming every episode. It might still be going, but this was yesterday. And I was like, well, that's interesting. And I don't know why. Like, I wonder if it was just nostalgia, or I know some of those characters' artwork are on the Magic the Gathering cards as just like an homage, but yeah, and I don't even know. They must own it. Does Hasbro own that cartoon, or is that still owned by like Saban or something?
I have no idea if they would have been able to buy it back or something. I don't know.
So I don't know. What's interesting about that cartoon is apparently they never it got canceled or whatever, didn't get renewed, but the kids never made it home, and so that's
they never showed the last episode.
Yeah,
like it didn't even air at that point. People can find it on YouTube, I think, but I don't think the last episode aired on TV.
It was weird. And so I've never watched it other than little clips because I think I tried once and I was like, it's just not for me. But there you go. So, I like old cartoons, don't get me wrong, but this one was very cheesy and and very much a cash grab of like, oh, acrobat barbarian, go fight this thing, and I don't know.
Well, it was a.
I'm not watching Thundercats either, kind of a thing. You know, like I'm not watching a lot of old '80s cartoons. So
I do. I watch Thundercats all the time. I watch Voltron, Thundercats. Yeah, but it was like a Hasbro. You know, they want to make toys that they could sell, so they had to make characters that could be made that would be perfect toys to sell to kids, and that's how the show was. Yeah. So you had a unicorn, and you had the little dwarven dungeon master who was kind of like a Yoda, and it was playing off of all the other things that were happening during that time, and very, like you said, very commercial, very toy, because the toy companies were running those cartoons when He-Man and G.I. Joe and all them hit, and all of a sudden you can buy those figures and Star Wars figures, and that became such a big thing. They were using cartoons to sell that product so that those kids would go in and see them on Christmas. And I mean, I wanted all those things. I wanted the G.I. Joe aircraft carrier and all the vehicles they would make. And then I wanted Voltron, and I wanted all that stuff.
No, all of those are, those old shows were
He-Man.
Yeah, because you can't sell advertising space for kids usually.
Yeah.
And I think it was like, well, we'll just build a show that is an advertisement. And so there you go. But yeah, you got an Arcane Archer. What's going on?
I do. I'm in the Dungeon the Mad Mage.
Talk about your game for a little bit.
Yeah, and we lost out, if you remember, we talked about it a little bit. We had a power outage on one day, and then we had some people who couldn't make it, so we missed 2 weeks, and then came back and finally got to finish this level. We had went down to 7, cleared it out, came back up to 6, and 6 gave us way more trouble than 7 did at all. Near big battles in there. Finally leveled up, finally finished it off in our last game. And so I'm at that point now. I'm an Arcane Archer 6. I'm a Twilight Cleric 3. And I either have to go Arcane Archer 7 or Twilight Cleric 4. And I don't need abilities points because I've got 3 items that have put my 3 main stats up to 19 just by the magic items. So I'm walking around like the perfect stats. So then I'm thinking, okay, so at Arcane Archer, there's some cool abilities you can get at 7, like arrows that go around corners and some other things you can do with your arrows. Twilight Cleric, if I go to 4, instead of taking the ASI, I could go feet. Yeah. And keep that moving up so that I eventually get to the good cleric spells later on. So I'm having to make this big decision. Yeah, I know. So what do I take? Mobility is big on my list. I'm an Aarakocra archer who the dungeon master, I hit so hard, the dungeon master makes it his job to make sure something is trying to tie me up in every battle. Like it always comes from somewhere from behind or from out of somewhere I couldn't see it. Tries to get close to mess me up, because if he leaves me alone, this Arcane Archer I've built hits like a ton of bricks, man. It's like a truck hits you. It hits so hard. Every arrow, 21 points of damage, 21 points of damage. I mean, it's huge numbers. Because I'm using sharpshooter, and I've got such high bonuses that the negative doesn't hurt, so I'm getting the plus 10, and I've got super high stats and a magic bow and all this stuff. So it's really good. Not as good as that stupid barbarian who can rage and do all, but we won't talk about him. But I kind of want to go the cleric route because I wanted spells for versatility. So I keep thinking I still want to go Twilight Cleric 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and get up into there. Because really, if we go to 20, right, and I stay at 6, that means I'll be a Cleric 14. Or do I go 7 and be a Cleric 13? So I'm kind of having those weird choices. I've never had that in a game where I've gotten so far where I'm starting to think about ahead, because I know in the Dungeon of the Mad Mage, we're going to make it to 20. I'm almost sure of it. That will, if I don't die, this campaign is going to level 20 characters for sure. It feels like so. I'm super excited. So that's
Archer is a fighter subtype, right?
It is.
Okay.
Which makes it probably the best ranger you could build. Actually, is a fighter arcane archer, in my opinion. Just because you get second wind, action surges, you can get big damage, you get a lot of ability scores to pump up whatever abilities you didn't roll well in the beginning. Everything about fighter, you can wear heavy armor if you want, you can shoot a huge bow, you can have big damage.
And I'm thinking about like the later versions of fighter. I don't think that's going to give you any. If you're already hitting like a truck, I would go cleric. I was just looking at some of the feats. Like you could get mobile, which would be really good. Yeah,
and there's new feats in Tasha's too. So I was thinking about Shadow Touched, I think it was one of them, or Shadow Born, or Shadow something. There was another one. Mobility was good because I could get away without the attack of opportunity, which I really thought would be good for my Aarakocra, who already can fly 50 feet, can maneuver around the battlefield, can do a lot of cool stuff. So so that's my big choices coming up, and then we're going to dive down to level 8 of Dungeon of the Mad Mage and see what we see there. I do have Sharpshooter.
Oh, you have it?
I have it.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, Shadow Touched lets you learn invisibility and stuff like that. So okay.
Yes, cool stuff. So I may go 7 because that's the thing. What do I lose if I go 7-13 or if I stay 6-14? What is the difference in cleric between 13 and 14? That's the big trade-off that I have to figure out. Because I don't want to go much past 7 in Archer, because I don't think there's anything else I need besides maybe the third attack, but I'm already doing so well with the 2 I have. It's not.
Well, and most classes only have 2 attacks, and I think to get the third, you have to get up to like, what, 10?
10?
Yeah, 10 or 11 or
I'd have to go much farther, I think. So, I think I either want to do 7-13 or 6-14.
So, at 14th level, you get Destroy Undead.
That's good.
Which makes your turn undead go up to CR3.
Right. And what spell slots do I get?
You have 13 and 14 have the same spell slots. So you'll
get
get one 7th level spell, but you're not losing any spells. Yeah. So I don't know. Like,
I got a big decision to make by Tuesday.
It's literally just that Destroy Undead is what it looks like.
Yeah.
And you're an
But look at the Arcane Archer 7.
Domain, right?
Look at 7 for Arcane Archer 7. It gets some arrow things that that I kind of wanted earlier, but I wanted to get my cleric level going before I got to it.
Right. So a fighter at 7th level, you get a martial archetype feature, which comes from your Arcane Archer. So you get Curving Shot, Magic Arrow, or Arcane Shot. Yeah, that might be better. I don't know. Magic Arrow, you gain the ability to infuse arrows with magic, so you can fire an arrow. I said that weird, sorry. And it goes resistance and immunity, non-magical attacks. It does that. Curving Shot, you can, when an arrow misses, you can use a bonus action to re-roll the attack.
Right. So I get 2 attacks with Sharpshooter.
Yeah.
Maybe I miss one. I get a re-roll, and it can redirect and hit, I think, another target, right?
Yeah.
It goes and hits something else.
Roll against a different target that's within 60 feet,
That sounds kind of cool also. So I don't know.
I might honestly do that. Now, looking at the 2, I think I would go 7 Arcane Archer,
7 and then 13,
but
I might do it. So very cool. But what about Jordan's games? That's the one I've been playing. I'm still thinking about starting one up, but work's got to settle down a little.
Yeah. So I'm in 2 games right now, which is fun because I always I'm not playing anything, and then I just have lots of games. But Kugo of the Mighty Dungeon. Well, Kugo the Mighty is what he goes by on YouTube. He's a YouTuber. And he did a lot of video games in the past and stuff, but now he's really into D&D. And apparently has been a fan of my channel for a long time and was really excited to have me on a game. So he's running an Eberron game, and we're streaming it Friday nights on Twitch, on twitch.tv/Kugo the Mighty. And it's called The Mighty Dungeon, and eventually these will go up on YouTube as VODs, but I don't think they're there yet. But it's an Eberron game, which is really exciting. And I'm playing Zix, the Goblin Swarm Keeper Ranger, which is really fun. So I've got a bunch of bugs crawling all over me, and when I took the ranger with because you can have an archetype, and one of them is like, do you want to be a bow? Do you want to dual wield? But I went with Tasha's. One of the new features for that is the druidic archetype. So I took 2 cantrips. So I took Shillelagh and Magic Stone. So my whole thing is I cast Magic Stone, and then I throw these stones with like ridiculous accuracy, and they do a bunch of damage, and it's been really fun.
That's cool.
So I huck rocks at people, and the rocks are covered in bugs, and so when the rock hits, the bugs bite them and do extra damage, and it's really fun and flavorful, and I like it. So we're really emphasizing the lore and stuff in this game, and so I had to write like a whole backstory. Sometimes it's just like, let's just play a game, but this was like, he really wanted us to role play and know stuff, so it's been fun to stretch my Eberron lore muscles. And
how big is the party, and what are the other characters?
Yeah, so we have 5 people in the party. And we have me as the ranger. We have a cleric of the Silver Flame. We have a fighter. And we have a shifter druid. And I think that's it.
All in the Eberron world, huh? That sounds super cool.
And yeah, and so we were currently at a base that is basically like a watch for the Mournland. So this fort is watching the Mournland, which is just a giant wall of mist at this point. Weird faces coming in and out of the mist as they're like watching it. And their job is to kind of like figure out what's going on. And we show up, and there is a GIF there, which is a GIFF, which is a giant hippopotamus creature. And that is their artificer that's like tinkering, trying to figure out ways to destroy the mist or something. As we're we do have a 5th player. So as we're fighting, a giant like shadow dragon came out, and we're like attacking this dragon, trying to protect these guys. And then after the dragon flew away, because we did enough damage, it retreated. Out walks a artificer wizard, and he doesn't have a name, and he doesn't know where he is or not an artificer, a warforged wizard.
Oh, you gotta have a warforged.
This warforged comes out and is like, I don't know what's going on, and he's really fun. He's been flavoring all of his spells as like he cast spider climb, but it was like little magnetic hands that let him climb up stuff and things like that. So we're trying to figure out what his purpose is, and then we're also trying to figure out like how to what's going on with the Mournland, because the mist is kind of expanding a little bit. And it's really fun. We had a little jaunt into Kyber, which is the realm below, and that was spooky AF, and now we're back on the mortal realm and wondering what's going on. So yeah, if you get a chance, you should check it out. It's really fun. Kugo's doing a different thing with the stream, where we all made our characters in Hero Forge, and we made them have 2 poses. So one has a closed mouth pose and one has an open mouth pose, and he's hooked it up that when our mics become live from talking, it highlights our character and they open their mouths. So there's no faces, like we don't have our webcams up, but everyone, you'll like see them talking and stuff, and then Kugo manipulates the background of like where we are and where our characters are and stuff. It's really fun to watch. It's been good.
That's cool.
So, we're level 3, nothing fancy, but it's been a lot of fun. So.
Well, and Keith Baker is still pumping out loads of lore and information for Eberron. So if you ever want a lore deep
DMsGuild coming out in a couple days, and it's a tie-in between Ravenloft and Eberron. And I think it has something to do with the Mournlands, but they've been putting some pictures on their Twitter, and one of them is like a really creepy spider horse, and I was like, that's terrifying.
The Mists of Dread are in Mournland.
Yeah. Ravenloft Mournland crossover. So I'm really excited. His devotion to Eberron is what keeps me interested in Eberron. It's really good.
Definitely. So. Yeah.
Then with I joined Nathan's game. He's doing a DM Nathan. He's doing a homebrew game, and I joined later. So everyone they've been running around together for a while, and they're all friends of mine. But I don't really know the party dynamic. And I'm playing a sea elf monk, which is really fun. And I do Way of the 4 Elements, but I've been taking just water stuff And so it's been really fun because we fought some creatures on a bridge over a raging river, and I could use my key to push the river up and try to like sweep them away. And so they made strength saving throws to see if they could hang on to the land. And then one of them fell into the water, and it was really fun. So I've been having this like Avatar kind of waterbender feel. Yeah. He gave me a really cool trident, and so now I'm running around with this trident, kicking butt and doing awesome stuff, which I can use as a monk weapon. So it's really fun. I can use my dex for it. So, yeah.
Very cool.
And then I've just been reading books. Lots and lots of books, making videos. And that's what I've been up to. But those games are
very
cool. For sure, check out the Eberron game. And then just watch this show for more updates on Sea Elf, Monk, Nim. So, yeah.
Yep. All the links are probably in the description. And go check all that stuff out. It's awesome.
Yeah. Anything else before we need to take off?
Man, it just felt like it went by so quick.
This did go by really fast.
It was really good, though. I mean, it was just, I'm energized. I'm excited. I can't wait for the Magic the Gathering stuff to come out. You guys need to tell us what you're excited about. Is it the live show? Is it the cards? Is it the next campaign setting? Is it the next announcement you're waiting for? What is it? Or maybe you're having fun in what just came out just recently. Tell us how your Dungeons & Dragons is going. We'd love to hear it.
Chris says you need to read your new Kickstarter RPG, so get on that because we want
a
full report.
Riot Minds.
And then by next week, we'll probably figure out what this second book is because D&D Live will happen, and I'm sure more information. And so next week's show should be really good. You should
be good.
Definitely tune in then. But until then, we'll talk to you guys next week. Thank you again for watching and liking and sharing either a podcast or not. We'll see you guys next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.